Hello again. So today I'm going to continue talking about what are the underlying causes for what drives people to seek therapy and to seek help, and particularly this kind of therapy. So we know there are symptoms, functioning symptoms often, but there are also underlying causes. So in the last couple videos I spoke about anxiety being chief among them, and there are many forms of anxiety and how it shows up in the body, and how intimacy behavioral therapy and the process that I engage in with my patients works to really replace or change the behavior over time with repetition, creating new neural pathways and a way to be easy in the body. So just a brief recap. So today I'm going to talk to you about shame, and it is a kind of emotion, feeling that is very corrosive in the body and in the mind, and it is often what can contribute to you're feeling less than or embarrassed by or guilty about. Many of these things are very painful for people to experience, and they're also hidden, very private. People generally you and I don't usually share when we feel shame, but we often act out of it, whether or not we are consciously aware of it. So how it really can infect, if you will, a person's soul is by really eating away at any kind of self-esteem that might be there. What are the causes? So many. It can often be attributed to cultural, the way a person was raised, the kind of mores, what we've been taught. You and I grew up in a culture, and virtually every culture, it seems, has some version of this, of really creating in us, starting when we're really young, a fear of ourselves, our bodies, a disconnect from the joy of the sensation of pleasure, and connecting it to somehow being inherently wrong or bad, sinful. Of course, as you can probably hear right now, what I'm just talking about often is related to religion and religious thinking, and most religions can contribute to this. And so if a person, I've found, even if you're raised in a secular family, or you're raised so that those kinds of indoctrinations are not really present in your day-to-day life, somehow still most of us, I know I have been affected by what we've been taught and what we've been exposed to in the greater culture and society. The teachers, the preachers, the parents, our parents, they, meaning well or not, are reinforcing many of these kind of stereotypes of how we should be viewing our sexuality and our relationships with others, in our bodies, and how we feel about our bodies. So shame can have to do with how we feel about our body image. It can have to do with, again, being the kind of the Puritan outlook of that sexual pleasure is only for maybe once you're married, and even then it's only about procreation. As archaic as that sounds, that still exists in the world in many places, and I've encountered it in working with patients from really all over the world. And so it is very, very limiting in terms of a feeling that a person can just break free and begin to explore and play, if you will, and discover what is really, what's your experience? What is it that, you can enjoy, and open yourself and free yourself from what you've been taught. And the first step is to, I think, recognizing that you may have been affected, and that it's showing up in the way that, your own view of yourself, your self-talk, the way that you express yourself and the kinds of relationships that you look for. It's if we inherently feel that sexual pleasure or sensual or anything to do with intimacy is somehow dangerous or against, not quite against the law, but against what it's supposed to be, right? So that, when you're young and you're exploring yourself, maybe physically, and you're starting to notice that certain parts of your body feel good when touched or stimulated, this can lead to great discomfort with knowing that has to remain hidden. And that, again, our culture, most cultures have pretty much virtually no real sex education in terms of, in a healthy way. So there's very little to turn to except for usually pornography, which I mentioned before, it's not the purpose of it, not designed to educate, more designed often to help people feel more inferior and less confident that you know what you're doing, or can't possibly usually compete with what we see on those screens. So, which is all choreographed and, edited, of course, airbrushed, etc., filtered. So shame is really multifaceted, and I'm really, again, just wanting to share from the point of view of what I've experienced working with people over the years, and how it can show up. And so in this next video, following this one, I'm going to talk about how this process can help you to, what I offer can help you to begin to look at the shame and release it as part of the healing needed in order to feel at home in one's body when connecting, touching with another person. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.